Sometimes what kills you isn't what the doctors are paid to look for. 20 doctors couldn't save the billionaire. The woman who mopped their floors spotted what they missed. Victor Blackwell deteriorated in his $4 million hospital suite. Machines beeped. Specialists frowned. Death approached despite world-class medical minds puzzling over his case. Angela Beaumont slipped into the room, invisible as always. Night shift meant fewer eyes to look through her. She inhaled antiseptic, cologne, and something else. Something metallic. Wrong. Her chemistry-trained mind jolted with recognition. She froze. The distinct yellowing fingernails, the particular pattern of hair loss, the subtle discoloration at his gums. Her heart raced. The answer crystallized in her mind, clear as laboratory glass. She knew exactly what poison was killing him. But who would listen to a housekeeper when 20 specialists had failed? Johns Hopkins Medical Center housed a secret. The ultra-luxury wing where wealth purchased privacy. Victor Blackwell's suite resembled a five-star hotel, medical equipment disguised by mahogany panels and ambient lighting. The tech billionaire had paid for exclusivity, demanding America's top diagnostic minds solve his mysterious decline. Angela methodically dusted the room's expensive surfaces. At 38, her movements were efficient. Economical habits formed through necessity. Single mother, night shift worker, invisible. Yet her eyes missed nothing, categorizing symptoms, analyzing patterns that doctors overlooked. 10 feet away, Dr. Thaddeus Reynolds addressed his team of specialists. Silver-haired, Harvard-educated, with a voice that never needed raising to command attention. Gentlemen, we've exhausted conventional pathways. Mr. Blackwell's symptoms defy standard diagnosis. His liver function continues to deteriorate. Neurological symptoms worsen. We must consider more exotic approaches. Angela kept her head down, but her ears open. She'd learned this skill in college, absorbing lectures while taking meticulous notes. Before life intervened. 15 years ago, Angela had been chemistry department star, scholarship student on track for medical research. Then her parents' accident left 3 younger siblings needing support. She withdrew mid-semester, promising to return. She never did. The cleaning staff needs to finish quickly, Dr. Reynolds announced, noticing Angela. His words dismissed her without directly addressing her. We have important matters to discuss. Angela nodded, face neutral despite the familiar sting. They saw her uniform, not the mind behind it. She'd maintained her passion for chemistry through library books, online lectures, scientific journals read during lunch breaks. Knowledge without credentials. As she wiped surfaces, Angela's eyes caught Blackwell's chart. Puzzling symptoms. Peripheral neuropathy, alopecia, digestive issues. Classic presentations misattributed to separate conditions. Dr. Reynolds swept past, brushing her aside without acknowledgement. Angela stepped back, becoming part of the wall. Furniture. Background. Dr. Reynolds walks past me every day like I'm part of the furniture, she thought. That's why he never notices what I see. Her gaze shifted to Blackwell's personal items. Expensive grooming products arranged neatly on the bathroom counter. The hand cream in particular imported, exclusive. She noted its position had changed since yesterday. Someone had moved it. Angela filed the observation away. In chemistry, small inconsistencies often revealed the answer. The suite door opened as a well-dressed man entered Jefferson Burke, according to the visitor badge clipped to his tailored suit. Angela recognized him from business magazines, Blackwell's former rival, now supportive friend during illness. Victor's resting, Dr. Reynolds informed him. His condition hasn't improved. I brought his favorite hand cream, Burke replied, placing an elegant black jar on the nightstand. Imported from Switzerland. Small comfort, but he insists it's the only brand that doesn't irritate his skin. Angela noted how Burke positioned the jar prominently, ensuring it would be used. Something in his careful placement triggered her analytical mind. too deliberate, too insistent. Later, as she cleaned an adjacent room, Angela overheard two residents discussing Blackwell's case. "Strangest symptom progression I've ever seen," the first said. "Like multiple conditions simultaneously." "Reynolds thinks it's an autoimmune cascade," replied the second. "But the tests keep coming back inconsistent." Meanwhile, the richest man in tech circles gets weaker while we chase theories. Angela paused, connecting fragments in her mind. The symptoms, the mysterious decline, the expensive hand cream that appeared regularly. A hypothesis formed, but she needed more observation. That night, she adjusted her cleaning schedule to include Blackwell's room during his sleeping hours. She studied his chart updates, noting new symptoms that further confirmed her suspicions. The pattern was becoming unmistakable to someone with her specific knowledge. As her shift ended, Angela stared at her reflection in the employee bathroom mirror. The uniform, practical, forgettable. The face tired but still sharp with intelligence. The invisible barrier between her world and theirs. "They don't see me," she whispered to herself, "but I see everything." Alarms erupted at 2:17 a.m. Angela heard the code blue announcement while cleaning the adjacent room. Doctors rushed past. Victor Blackwell had deteriorated suddenly. She paused her work, heart racing. Through the partially open door, she watched the emergency unfold. "Liver enzymes critical, kidney function dropping, neurological responses diminished," a resident reported, voice tight with tension. Dr. Reynolds strode in, immediately taking command. "Full toxicology panel, again. Something's causing this cascade failure." Angela edged closer, drawn by both concern and scientific curiosity. The medical team worked frantically, monitors beeping faster, nurses rushing with medications. "Could it be environmental?" suggested Dr. Park, a younger physician. "Something in his food, water, or personal products?" Dr. Reynolds dismissed this with a cutting glance. "We've tested everything in this room twice. Focus on medical possibilities, not amateur detective work." Dr. Park shrank back. The team continued their urgent intervention, stabilizing Blackwell temporarily. As the crisis subsided and doctors dispersed for consultations, Angela slipped into the room. She checked his chart, memorizing new symptoms. Then her eyes returned to the bathroom counter. The hand cream. Something about its metallic sheen on Blackwell's nightstand triggered a memory from her university days. A specific lecture on heavy metal poisoning. Angela moved closer, examining Blackwell's fingernails. The discoloration pattern subtle but distinctive, the particular quality of his hair loss, the reported abdominal pain. She inhaled sharply. The symptoms matched thallium poisoning exactly as described in her toxicology textbook. Could 20 specialists have missed something so classically presented? Angela hesitated, then approached Sarah, a night nurse she'd built a friendly rapport with. "Excuse me," Angela said quietly. "Has anyone checked Mr. Blackwell for thallium poisoning? His symptoms match exactly." Sarah's expression shifted from friendly to dismissive. "Angela, I know you mean well, but please, these are the country's top specialists." "But the pattern of—" "If you're done eavesdropping, the bathroom needs cleaning," Sarah interrupted, voice cooling. "Leave the medicine to doctors." Angela stepped back, cheeks burning. She returned to her cart, the familiar weight of dismissal settling on her shoulders. But certainty crystallized in her mind. She knew what was killing Victor Blackwell. The question was, would she risk her job to make someone listen? As she wheeled her cart down the corridor, Angela's thoughts raced through possibilities. The symptoms aligned perfectly with her hypothesis. The progressive neurological issues, the digestive problems, the distinctive pattern of hair loss. In her undergraduate toxicology course, thallium poisoning had been presented as the perfect poisoner's tool, difficult to detect unless specifically sought. She completed her shift mechanically, mind focused on Blackwell's declining condition. At home, she pulled an old textbook from her small but treasured collection, salvaged from her university days. The chapter on heavy metal poisoning confirmed her suspicions. Thallium. Colorless, odorless, absorbed through skin contact, causing systemic damage while mimicking numerous conditions. The next morning, Angela arrived early, determined to find a way to make someone listen. She watched as Jefferson Burke visited again, bringing another jar of the exclusive hand cream. The routine was always the same, insisting it was the only brand Blackwell would use, personally applying some to show its quality. Perfect delivery system for a slow, deliberate poisoning. Angela weighed her options. Direct confrontation would be dismissed immediately. Evidence was needed, irrefutable proof that even Dr. Reynolds couldn't ignore. She made her decision. Victor Blackwell was running out of time. Victor Blackwell deteriorated by the hour. Angela checked his status through whispered conversations between nurses, through glimpses of updated charts. Time was running out. During her break, Angela used the hospital's public computer to confirm her suspicion. The symptoms aligned perfectly with thallium poisoning, the specific pattern of hair loss, the peripheral neuropathy progressing upward, the distinctive gastrointestinal issues. But how was it entering his system, and why hadn't it been detected? She scribbled a note on hospital stationery. Check for thallium poisoning. Classic presentation. She left it on Dr. Reynolds' clipboard while cleaning his office. The next morning, she arrived early, positioning herself near the doctor's meeting room. Through the partially open door, she heard Dr. Reynolds' voice. And apparently, he said with audible derision, our cleaning staff has diagnostic opinions. Laughter rippled through the room. Someone left an anonymous note suggesting thallium poisoning. We tested for heavy metals in the initial workup, another doctor responded. Exactly. Standard procedure, Reynolds dismissed. Cleaning staff playing detective. Next, they'll be performing surgery. Angela's chest tightened. Her hands gripped her cleaning cart until her knuckles whitened. The dismissal stung, but the patient's life mattered more than her pride. She formulated a new approach. Dr. Park, a younger physician, seemed more approachable. During her afternoon shift, Angela timed her cleaning to intercept him. Excuse me, Dr. Chen, she began, voice steady despite her racing heart. About Mr. Blackwell, I believe he's suffering from thallium poisoning. The symptoms match perfectly. Dr. Chen's expression shifted from surprise to discomfort. That's an interesting theory. But we've tested for heavy metals. Standard tests might miss it if it's being administered consistently in small doses, Angela pressed. His hand cream. I appreciate your concern, he interrupted, checking his watch, but I need to be somewhere. Perhaps mention it to nursing staff? He walked away quickly. Angela stood alone in the hallway, invisible once more. Later that evening, the head of security approached as she cleaned. Ms. Beaumont, we've had reports of you interfering with medical matters. This is a warning. Know your boundaries, or there will be consequences. Angela nodded, throat tight. She needed evidence, irrefutable proof that even Dr. Reynolds couldn't dismiss. But gathering it meant crossing lines that could cost her job, the income her family depended on. That night, alone in the employee break room, Angela made her decision. Victor Blackwell had perhaps days left. Her job security couldn't outweigh a human life. She formulated a plan, drawing on chemistry knowledge that had lain dormant but never disappeared. She would need cleaning supplies, access to the lab, and perfect timing. Tomorrow, she would force them to see what they'd missed or lose everything trying. Jefferson Burke visited again that afternoon, staying only 15 minutes, but ensuring the hand cream was prominently placed. Angela observed from the hallway, noting how he encouraged the day nurse to apply it to Blackwell's hands and arms for comfort. After Burke left, Angela performed routine cleaning in Blackwell's bathroom, carefully studying the hand cream's container. The expensive packaging revealed nothing suspicious, but the product itself had a faint metallic sheen when examined closely. She needed a sample, but taking it openly would trigger suspicion. Instead, she waited until the nursing shift change, when Blackwell's room was momentarily unattended. With practiced efficiency, Angela transferred a small amount of cream into a sterile specimen container she'd acquired from the supply room. The sample disappeared into her uniform pocket. That evening, Angela picked up her children from her neighbor's apartment. 12-year-old Marcus and 14-year-old Tasha had grown accustomed to her exhaustion, to homework completed without maternal oversight, to meals prepared by teenage hands when shifts ran long. "Mom, are you okay?" Tasha asked, noting Angela's distraction. "Just a complicated situation at work," Angela replied, forcing a smile. "Nothing for you to worry about." After the children were asleep, Angela spread her materials across the kitchen table, her old toxicology textbook, printouts from medical journals, notes on Blackwell's symptoms. The pattern was undeniable to trained eyes. Why couldn't 20 specialists see it? Because they weren't looking for it. Because thallium poisoning was rare, almost archaic, a throwback to old spy novels. Because they'd run standard panels that might miss gradual exposure. Because no one expected a billionaire to be slowly poisoned by a trusted friend. And because no one listened to housekeepers. Angela stared at her cleaning uniform hanging on the door, the physical embodiment of her invisibility. Tomorrow she would risk everything to pierce that invisibility, to force them to see both the poison and the person who'd identified it. Angela arrived early for her shift, carrying a small bag alongside her usual supplies. Inside, baking soda, aluminum foil, and small containers borrowed from the cafeteria innocent items that, combined with standard cleaning solutions, could create a rudimentary but effective test for thallium. Her first task: collect evidence. During morning rounds, Angela timed her cleaning to overhear Blackwell's latest symptoms. The progression matched thallium poisoning perfectly, worsening neuropathy, now affecting speech. Distinctive hair loss pattern. Rapid deterioration despite supportive care. She carefully collected a tiny sample of the hand cream while cleaning Blackwell's bathroom. The expensive product had a faint metallic sheen when rubbed between fingers, subtle but detectable to trained senses. In a maintenance closet, Angela worked quickly, mixing solutions with practiced precision. The makeshift chemistry setup looked nothing like sophisticated hospital equipment, yet the principles remained sound. She'd performed similar tests in university labs, earning top marks for accuracy with minimal resources. The test confirmed her suspicion: positive for thallium. She photographed the results with her phone. Next, Angela reviewed Blackwell's visitor log, noting a pattern. Jefferson Burke business rival turned supportive friend visited regularly, always bringing the same exclusive hand cream as a gift. The timing matched the escalation of symptoms. At 2:00 p.m., Angela learned of an emergency conference in Blackwell's suite. All specialists would attend, as his condition had become critical. Perfect timing. She changed into her freshly laundered uniform, straightened her badge, and gathered her evidence. Test results, visitor logs, symptom timeline, and research printouts. Angela rehearsed her explanation mentally, drawing on knowledge from toxicology textbooks memorized years ago. The doctors gathered in Blackwell's suite, tension evident in their postures. Dr. Reynolds stood at the center, presenting the latest failed interventions. Angela knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Dr. Reynolds' expression shifted from surprise to irritation. "This is a closed medical conference. Please come back." "Mr. Blackwell is dying of thallium poisoning," Angela stated clearly, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. "I can prove it." Dr. Reynolds' face hardened. "Security," he began. "The symptoms match perfectly," Angela continued, stepping forward and placing her evidence on the table. "Progressive ascending peripheral neuropathy, distinctive alopecia, abdominal pain, cognitive decline, classical presentation." She pointed to her test results. "I confirmed thallium presence in his hand cream, the imported Chamberlain brand he uses daily. Absorption through skin, slow poisoning over months. This is absurd, Dr. Reynolds snapped. You're a housekeeper, not a physician. I was a chemistry honors student at Johns Hopkins before personal circumstances intervened, Angela responded, maintaining eye contact. The poison is being introduced through the hand cream brought by Jefferson Burke during his regular visits. The timeline matches symptom progression perfectly. She laid out her evidence methodically, pointing to the visitor logs, the symptom progression charts. Her explanation was precise, scientific, drawing on toxicology knowledge that had remained sharp despite years away from academia. Standard heavy metal panels might miss it because the poisoning is gradual, maintaining levels just below typical detection thresholds, she explained. But the cumulative effects are textbook. Complete silence fell over the room. Dr. Reynolds opened his mouth to object, then closed it, examining her evidence more closely. Dr. Park, the young physician who'd been dismissed earlier, leaned forward. This actually makes perfect sense with the symptom progression. The tests we ran might indeed miss gradual exposure. Another specialist nodded slowly. The hair loss pattern and neuropathy presentation are consistent with thallium toxicity. The silence deepened as 20 specialists confronted what they had missed and who had found it. It's thallium poisoning, Angela concluded quietly. The symptoms are textbook if you know what to look for. Angela stood firm as the doctors exchanged glances, her heart pounding beneath her composed exterior. The maintenance closet chemistry had been a gamble crude by laboratory standards, but based on sound principles. The precipitate formation had confirmed thallium's distinctive reaction pattern. How exactly did you test for this? Asked Dr. Winters, the toxicology specialist. Sodium rhodizonate reaction, Angela replied without hesitation. Modified for field testing with limited resources. The color change is unmistakable when thallium ions are present. Dr. Winters raised an eyebrow, impressed despite himself. That's an advanced technique, rarely used outside specialized labs. It was covered in advanced toxicology methods, second-year chemistry special topics, Angela responded. Professor Harrison's course. Recognition flickered across several faces. Harrison was a Johns Hopkins legend. You were his student? Dr. Park asked. For one semester, Angela answered, the old regret briefly visible. Before I had to withdraw. Dr. Reynolds examined her improvised test results with grudging attention. His expertise couldn't deny the evidence before him, however unorthodox its source. The concentration pattern suggests deliberate, sustained exposure, Angela continued, pointing to her timeline. Each application delivers a sublethal dose that accumulates in tissues. The symptoms escalate in perfect correlation with Burke's visits. The specialists began asking technical questions, which Angela answered with precise scientific terminology. With each response, her invisibility diminished. They were seeing her now, not her uniform, but her mind. Dr. Park pulled up Blackwell's latest labs on a tablet. If we specifically test for thallium rather than running a standard panel, you'll find elevated levels, Angela finished, particularly in hair samples from the past 3 months, which will show the poisoning timeline. The room's energy had transformed. The dismissive barrier had cracked. Knowledge had proven more powerful than hierarchy. Run a focused thallium test immediately, Dr. Park ordered, breaking the stunned silence. 2 specialists rushed to comply, taking samples of the hand cream and preparing blood draws. Dr. Reynolds remained frozen, staring at Angela's methodical evidence. His expression cycled through disbelief, realization, and reluctant acknowledgement. If you're correct, he finally said, voice strained, we've been poisoning him further with our treatments for other conditions. The chelation therapy for suspected mercury would be ineffective for thallium, Angela confirmed. He needs Prussian blue immediately to bind the poison. The specialists exchanged glances, medical minds recalibrating. A nurse returned breathless minutes later. Rush toxicology confirms thallium at significant levels, she announced. The room erupted in controlled chaos. Orders flew. Treatment protocols shifted. Security was contacted regarding Jefferson Burke. The security footage, Angela suggested. Check when Burke delivered the hand cream. He likely applied some himself to establish trust in the product. Dr. Park nodded. Already requested. But how did you— The pattern was clear once I looked for it, Angela explained. Mr. Burke always brought the same gift. Mr. Blackwell's condition always worsened afterward. The hospital security officer entered. We've reviewed footage. Burke manipulated the cream when alone in the room. We've contacted FBI. Prussian blue treatment was administered. Additional blood work confirmed Angela's diagnosis completely. The room's energy transformed from desperate resignation to focused hope. 3 hours later, Victor Blackwell's vital signs stabilized for the first time in weeks. Angela stood quietly by the wall, her presence momentarily forgotten in the medical flurry. Dr. Reynolds approached her, his tall frame seeming less imposing now. Your intervention was— He paused, visibly struggling. Correct. Completely correct. Angela nodded, maintaining professional composure despite the validation flooding through her. How did you see what 20 specialists missed? He asked, genuine confusion in his voice. I'm invisible, Angela replied simply. I observe without being observed. I see patterns without preconceptions. And I never forgot my training, even when life took me away from it. Dr. Reynolds nodded slowly. I owe you an apology. We all do. Before he could continue, monitors indicated Blackwell was regaining consciousness. The room hushed as the billionaire's eyes opened for the first time in days. What? Blackwell whispered hoarsely. Happened? Dr. Reynolds stood at his bedside. A critical moment of choice played across his face. Claim credit or acknowledge truth. He straightened his shoulders. You were being poisoned with thallium, Mr. Blackwell. We missed it. All of us. He turned toward Angela. This is Angela Beaumont. She solved what 20 specialists couldn't. Complete silence filled the room. Every eye turned to the housekeeper. Blackwell's weak gaze found her. Thank you, he whispered, for seeing what they missed. The silence broke as Dr. Park began to applaud. Others joined until the sound filled the room, acknowledgement impossible to dismiss. Angela stood taller, her expertise finally visible. The invisible barrier between medical staff and support personnel had cracked irreparably. Sometimes the most valuable knowledge isn't framed on a wall, she said quietly. The momentary triumph was interrupted as FBI agents arrived, professional and focused. They spoke briefly with hospital security, then requested statements from key personnel, including Angela. We need to understand exactly how you identified the poisoning, Agent Ramirez explained, treating her with the same deference afforded the specialists. I recognized the symptom pattern from toxicology training, Angela explained, then confirmed through chemical testing. And your background is in chemistry? Incomplete degree. I was forced to withdraw for family reasons. The agent nodded, impressed rather than dismissive. Your observation may have saved Mr. Blackwell's life and provided crucial evidence for prosecution. As the investigation intensified, medical staff continued administering the antidote therapy. Angela watched as Blackwell's vital signs strengthened hour by hour on the monitor's tangible proof of her diagnosis. Dr. Park approached, offering her a chair. You should sit. You've been standing since this began. The simple courtesy offering a seat to someone usually expected to remain standing and unobtrusive symbolized the shifting dynamics. Angela accepted with a quiet, thank you. Your chemistry background, what was your focus? Dr. Park asked. Toxicology and organic analysis, Angela replied. I was researching detection methods for environmental contaminants. You would have made an exceptional diagnostician, he observed. Life had other plans, she responded without self-pity. As evening approached, Angela prepared to complete her regular duties. Dr. Reynolds intercepted her near the supply closet. "Ms. Beaumont," he began awkwardly, "hospital administration has been informed of your contribution. They've authorized paid administrative leave while you assist with the investigation." The subtext was clear. They couldn't have someone who had demonstrated such expertise returning immediately to cleaning floors. Status quo had been irreparably disrupted. Angela nodded, understanding the complex recalibration occurring within the hospital hierarchy. "I'll finish my current duties first." Dr. Reynolds looked startled, then nodded with newfound respect. As she completed her shift, Angela noticed the changed atmosphere, the nods of acknowledgement from doctors who had previously looked through her, the congratulatory smiles from nursing staff. Her invisibility had been permanently shattered. When she finally left the hospital that evening, Angela paused in the parking lot, looking up at the illuminated windows of Blackwell's suite. Inside, the billionaire was recovering thanks to her intervention. The thought brought not pride but simple satisfaction, the clean resolution of a complex problem, the rightness of truth revealed. FBI agents arrived within the hour, their presence transforming the hospital wing into an investigation scene. Angela sat in a small conference room, recounting her observations and conclusions to intent federal agents who treated her words with professional respect. "You identified the poison, the delivery method, and the suspect through observation alone?" Agent Martinez clarified, impressed. "I combined observation with chemical testing and my background knowledge," Angela explained. "The pattern was clear once I knew what to look for." "You potentially saved a life and caught a would-be murderer," the agent noted. "Jefferson Burke is in custody. Initial questioning suggests corporate espionage, a gradual poisoning to force Blackwell to step down before a major merger." When the interview concluded, Angela stepped into the hallway to find the hospital dynamics subtly transformed. Nurses who had previously looked through her nodded in acknowledgement. Doctors who had never made eye contact now did. Dr. Park approached with coffee. "I brought you this. You've been answering questions for hours." "Thank you," Angela accepted, the simple courtesy feeling monumental. Later, Dr. Reynolds intercepted her as she prepared to resume her duties. His demeanor had changed, the assured confidence replaced by uncomfortable self-awareness. "Ms. Beaumont," he began stiffly, "I want to apologize for dismissing your concerns." His apology was minimal, awkward, the words of someone unaccustomed to admitting error. Angela nodded. "Thank you, Dr. Reynolds." "Your knowledge saved his life when our expertise failed," he acknowledged, struggling visibly with his pride. "We all have different perspectives," Angela replied. "Sometimes the answer is visible only from certain angles." He nodded curtly and walked away, status diminished, but professional identity intact. As Angela pushed her cleaning cart through the hospital corridors, whispers followed. "That's her, the housekeeper, who outsmarted 20 doctors." The story had spread through hospital departments with lightning speed. She worked her shift with the same quiet efficiency as always, but her invisible shield had dissolved. People saw her now, not just her uniform or function, but her mind, her capability, her worth beyond assigned role. The hospital hierarchy remained, but Angela now moved through it differently, walking with the confidence of someone whose true value had been witnessed and could never again be unseen. Over the following days, the hospital administration struggled to categorize Angela's position. Her job title remained Environmental Services Technician, yet she was repeatedly consulted on Blackwell's recovery and the ongoing investigation. At home, Angela carefully explained the situation to her children. "So, you solved a mystery the doctors couldn't?" Marcus asked, wide-eyed. "I noticed something they overlooked," Angela corrected gently. "Sometimes being in a different position lets you see things others miss." Tasha, more perceptive at 14, recognized the deeper implications. "Will things change now? Will they respect you more?" Angela considered the question carefully. Respect isn't something given permanently. It's earned and maintained. But yes, something has shifted. The media caught wind of the story. Housekeeper solves medical mystery, saves billionaire, but hospital security kept reporters at bay. Angela was grateful. Public attention wasn't her goal. A week after her diagnosis, Angela was called to the administrative offices. The hospital's chief of medicine, Dr. Eleanor Matthews, greeted her with newfound collegiality. "Ms. Beaumont, your actions have placed this institution in an unusual position," Dr. Matthews began. "You demonstrated exceptional medical knowledge while working in a non-medical capacity." Angela waited, sensing the administration's dilemma. Her achievement couldn't be ignored, yet acknowledging it fully would disrupt established hierarchies. "The board has authorized a commendation and bonus," Matthews continued, "and we'd like to discuss potential opportunities that might better utilize your scientific background." The offer was carefully calibrated recognition without fundamental disruption, opportunity without admission of systematic oversight. "I appreciate that," Angela replied evenly. "I've always valued learning, even when circumstances prevented formal education." Dr. Matthews nodded, relieved by Angela's measured response. "Mr. Blackwell has also expressed interest in speaking with you once he's sufficiently recovered." Angela returned to her duties, aware that while her immediate status had changed, systemic barriers remained. The gap between potential and opportunity couldn't be bridged by a single moment of brilliance. Yet something fundamental had shifted in how she moved through the world, and in how the world perceived her. 1 month later, Angela received a message that seemed surreal. Victor Blackwell requested her presence in his office downtown. She arranged time off, dressed in her best non-uniform clothes, and entered the gleaming tower that housed Blackwell Innovations. Unlike the hospital, where she'd navigated corridors invisibly, here she was escorted with deference. The executive floor revealed a recovered Blackwell thinner, slightly paler, but very much alive. "Ms. Beaumont," he greeted her, rising from behind his desk. "Please sit. I've wanted to thank you properly since I regained full consciousness." Angela sat, acutely aware of the role reversal. The man whose room she had cleaned now offered her a chair in his personal domain. "I'm glad you're recovering well," she responded simply. "Recovering understates it. I'm alive because you saw what others missed." Blackwell studied her. "Dr. Reynolds explained your background: chemistry prodigy, scholarship student, education interrupted by family tragedy." Angela nodded, surprised at how thoroughly her story had been investigated. "Intelligence shouldn't be wasted," Blackwell continued. "I've established a foundation to support brilliant minds facing financial barriers. You're the inspiration and first recipient." He slid a folder across the desk. Inside, documentation for a full scholarship to complete her chemistry degree, living stipend included, along with guaranteed placement in Johns Hopkins Toxicology Department upon graduation. "This isn't charity," Blackwell clarified, noting her expression. "It's investment in exceptional talent. The hospital has already approved your position part-time during studies, full-time after graduation. They're rather eager to have your expertise officially." Angela's fingers traced the document edges, dreams she'd packed away years ago suddenly tangible again. "My children," she began. "The stipend covers childcare," Blackwell assured her. "All practical obstacles have been addressed. The only question is, are you ready to reclaim your interrupted path?" That evening, Angela sat with her children, explaining how their lives would change. Their eyes widened with pride as she recounted the full story she'd previously minimized. "You saved a billionaire, Mom?" her son asked incredulously. "I used knowledge I never stopped building," she corrected gently. "And now we have a new chapter ahead." 2 weeks later, Angela entered Johns Hopkins not through service entrances but the main doors, student ID in hand for morning classes, hospital badge for her afternoon toxicology internship. Dr. Reynolds nodded stiffly when they passed, in hallways professional courtesy replacing dismissal. Dr. Park had become a friend and advocate, helping navigate her transition from support staff to specialist in training. "The department already has cases they want your perspective on," he mentioned during lunch. "Your observational skills are unlike anything they've seen." In quiet moments, Angela sometimes remembered cleaning those same floors, invisible to the people who now sought her insights. The memory brought neither bitterness nor resentment, only appreciation for the journey's perfect, impossible arc. On her first day assisting with a difficult toxicology case, Angela stood in the laboratory surrounded by equipment she once only cleaned, now hers to command. The white coat felt foreign yet familiar, the weight of a dream deferred, not denied. She picked up the patient file and began her analysis, bringing both scientific training and the unique perspective of someone who had learned to see what others overlooked. Someone who understood that wisdom could be found in unexpected places, and that sometimes the most valuable insights came from those society had trained itself not to see. The transition wasn't seamless. Some medical staff still carried vestiges of old hierarchies in their interactions. Occasionally, someone would express surprise at finding her in the toxicology lab rather than cleaning it. Angela met these moments with quiet dignity, letting her work speak for itself. Her first semester back in formal education brought both challenges and joys. Academic language returned slowly. Theoretical frameworks needed rebuilding. Yet her practical experience provided insights textbooks couldn't teach. "You approach problems differently," her advanced chemical analysis professor observed. "You see applications before theories." "I learned in reverse order," Angela explained. "Practice before principle." The Blackwell Foundation expanded beyond Angela's initial scholarship, identifying other talented individuals whose education had been interrupted by circumstance. When interviewed about his philanthropy, Blackwell credited Angela's story as the catalyst. "Intelligence exists everywhere, not just in credentialed spaces," he told Businessweek. "Ms. Beaumont saved my life because she maintained knowledge without recognition. How many others like her exist, their talents invisible to systems that only value official credentials?" 6 months after the diagnosis that changed everything, Angela was invited to present at a hospital conference on diagnostic approaches. She stood at the podium, addressing doctors who had once walked past her without seeing. "Observation doesn't require credentials," she began. "Sometimes the most valuable insights come from unexpected sources, from people trained to be invisible, who see what others overlook precisely because they move through spaces differently." Dr. Reynolds sat in the audience, his expression a complex mixture of respect and lingering discomfort at the hierarchical disruption her story represented. Yet he nodded at her key points, professional enough to acknowledge truth. After the presentation, a young hospital worker, a transporter who moved patients between departments, approached Angela hesitantly. "I've been taking night classes in nursing," she confided, "but nobody here knows. They just see the uniform." Angela recognized her younger self in the woman's expression, the hunger for knowledge, the frustration of invisibility, the determination despite barriers. "Keep learning," Angela advised. "Knowledge belongs to those who pursue it, regardless of title. And remember, being underestimated has its advantages. You see things others miss." The woman nodded, standing straighter. One small conversation, one shared story, perhaps the beginning of another barrier broken. At home that evening, Angela helped Tasha with her science homework. The kitchen table that once held cleaning schedules and budget calculations now featured textbooks, laboratory reports, and college applications. Tasha's grades had improved dramatically, inspired by her mother's example. "Mom," Tasha asked, "do you ever wish things had happened differently? That you hadn't had to drop out of school?" Angela considered the question carefully. "My path wasn't what I planned, but it taught me things I couldn't have learned any other way. How to observe, how to persist, how to find worth in myself when others didn't see it." She smiled at her daughter. "The journey matters as much as the destination." 1 year after saving Victor Blackwell's life, Angela attended a ceremony establishing the Beaumont Scholarship for Scientific Excellence, a permanent endowment specifically for individuals returning to scientific education after career interruptions. The first 5 recipients included a former delivery driver, a retail worker, and a landscaper, all with demonstrated scientific aptitude and interrupted educational journeys. Ms. Beaumont exemplifies what we often forget in our credential-focused society, Blackwell said during the ceremony. That brilliance exists everywhere, in all walks of life, often unseen because we're trained to look only in expected places. As Angela stood to acknowledge the audience, she saw Dr. Reynolds among the attendees. Their eyes met briefly mutual recognition of how completely the world had changed between them. He nodded respectfully, the gesture acknowledging both her triumph and his own growth. Later, touring the research facility funded by Blackwell's Foundation, Angela paused before a plaque in the entrance hall. It bore a simple quote. The foundation had transformed her individual victory into systemic change-creating pathways for others whose talents remained hidden behind uniforms, job titles, and social expectations. In the toxicology laboratory, where she now worked part-time while completing her degree, Angela had established a reputation for solving cases others couldn't crack. Her colleagues attributed this to exceptional chemical knowledge, but Angela understood the deeper truth. Her years of invisibility had trained her to see patterns others missed, to question assumptions others accepted, to notice details others overlooked. What had once been her burden had become her strength. 2 years after the diagnosis that changed everything, Angela stood in her graduation gown, her children beaming from the audience. At 40, she was older than typical graduates, her path unconventional, her journey marked by detours others hadn't faced. Yet as she received her diploma, completing the circle begun decades earlier, Angela felt no regret for the winding path. Each experience, even the years of invisibility, of dismissal, of cleaning floors while carrying unused knowledge, had shaped her unique perspective. As she joined her children after the ceremony, Tasha hugged her fiercely. "I'm so proud of you, Mom." "Remember this," Angela told her children. "Your worth isn't determined by how others see you. It exists independently, waiting for the right moment to shine." That evening, at a small celebration dinner, Dr. Park raised a toast. To Angela Beaumont, who taught an entire hospital that wisdom can be found in unexpected places. Angela smiled, thinking of her journey from invisible to essential, from dismissed to respected. The status reversal felt complete, yet she retained the valuable perspective gained from years moving through the world unseen. In her new office at Johns Hopkins, once merely a building she cleaned, now her professional home, Angela kept a small framed photo of herself in her former uniform, not as a reminder of past dismissal, but as acknowledgement of the unique strength gained through that experience. Her phone rang, a consulting request from another hospital facing a mysterious poisoning case. Angela picked up, ready to apply both her formal training and her hard-won perspective. Her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had proven her worth beyond all doubt. "This is Dr. Beaumont," she answered. "How can I help you?" The title felt right-earned through unconventional pathways, but no less valid for the journey taken. And as she listened to the case details, Angela recognized patterns and possibilities others might miss, her mind connecting dots that remained invisible to those who had never learned to see from the shadows. If this story of hidden brilliance and justice moved you, there's more where it came from. Beat Stories brings you powerful narratives where underdogs rise through sheer talent and determination. Every week, we deliver compelling tales of status flips, moral victories, and the triumph of overlooked genius, just like Angela's journey from invisible housekeeper to respected toxicologist. Hit that subscribe button to never miss our weekly uploads of meticulously crafted stories that capture those perfect moments when someone underestimated finally gets their due recognition.